Hello, my fellow pioneers. Today is a special day because we're about to start our journey on the Oregon Trail. I think this is a very special and important unit because I think it's cool that we get to learn about the history of how our great state came to be. So we just learned a little bit about Lewis and Clark's expedition, which was the event leading up to the Oregon Trail. Now today we're going to discuss some of the different motives or reasons why people chose to migrate west. Now when people migrate, that means they're moving from one region to another. So if you've ever moved from one state, that means you migrated from that state to here, the best state in the country. Even animals migrate. If you've ever seen a bunch of geese or birds flying in one direction, that means they're migrating to find a new home. Now, people and animals have many different motives of why they migrate. It could be for warmer weather, like if people move to California, or more food, maybe there are better lands. And now the earliest settlers, the people who actually went on the Oregon Trail, they had their own motives for migrating west. Now I'm going to read a little article about why the pioneers chose to leave the East Coast and head out west. Until 1846, the emigrants were seeking their fortunes in lands outside the United States. Oregon was claimed by both Great Britain and the United States. In 1846, both nations finally agreed on the 49th parallel of latitude as their international boundary. California was part of Mexico. In 1846, Mexico was at war with the United States. The 1848 Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ceded California to New Mexico to the United States. Thus, both areas finally came under the control of the United States. Three general reasons can explain much of the motivation for the emigration and development of the trails west: hope for a better life, religion, and quick riches. Many emigrants desired a better life than they had in the East. Economic conditions had grown worse there, and land, it seemed, was free for the taking in Oregon and California. The stories of the rich lands and mild climates in the West appealed to many farmers. Many of the early emigrants' families had this in mind. Religion was another major factor. Missionaries played an important role in opening the route to Oregon. The first emigrant wagon was taken part way by the Whitmans in 1836. The missions established for the Indians in the Oregon territories also provided assistance to the early Oregon emigrants. The settlement of Utah was a direct result of the Mormon migration, as was the opening of the Carson Route and Salt Lake Road as part of the California Trail. California itself had originally been settled by Spanish Catholic missionaries. The desire for riches brought the first trappers and traders to California and Oregon. After the discovery of gold in California, it became the major motive for westward travel for a few years. While there were additional reasons and other ways to get to California and Oregon, those people who used the trails would change the face of the land and the destinies of all the peoples who lived there. Although there were some good reasons why people migrated to Oregon, there were also a lot of reasons why people were not on board, or should I say, on wagon, with moving across the country. Here are some newspaper editorials that say why you should not move to Oregon and you should stay east. From the North American Review: why go to Oregon to get land? An Illinois farm of the finest land would be far superior. Daily Missouri Republican: families with wagons will never be able to cross the mountains. Men should not subject their wives and children to all degrees of suffering. New Orleans Weekly Bulletin: The Indians in the West are hostile. The wagon trains would be in constant jeopardy. The New York Aurora. Most of the overlanders and their animals will die of starvation and exposure in the vast desert of the areas of the West. It is madness and a folly to attempt a trip to Oregon. The Liverpool Times. The country is expanding too fast. Besides, the Oregon country is claimed by British. If war comes, it would be impossible to defend it. So now that we've looked at the motives to or not to migrate to Oregon, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the people back in the 1800s. Would you decide to take your family on the 2,000-mile-long journey to Oregon? Why or why not? And be sure to use the information that you just heard from this video. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.